Welcome back to the Powerfully Imperfect podcast. We're here for episode 9, and today we got a surprise for you. What can Zoolander teach you about your relationship? That's right. We're going all the way back to Zoolander, and he had some powerful advice. What you didn't know is that movie was a giant metaphor for how to get along and make shit happen in your marriage, and you're going to find out why on the other side of all this. All right, we're excited. We should get right to it. I think we won't even make you wait at all. Let's go to a powerful message from our friend and the founder of the Academy for Kids Who Don't Read Good, Zoolander.
When all he had to do was turn left.
What do you mean?
I'm not an ambi-turner. It's a problem I had since I was a baby. I can't turn left.
Derek, that's nothing to be ashamed of. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who can't turn... I mean, there have got to be some people out there just like you who can't turn left.
Yes, the man who can't turn left. Well, your problem and your marriage probably is not that you can't turn left, but how you turn to one another is a huge indicator of whether or not your relationship is going to be a success. And working on the different ways to turn to one another can absolutely improve your marriage in a massive way. Whitney and I have been thinking and talking about this for a week in preparation for this pod call. And I think we found just about every possible way to fuck this up over the last week. So I think we got a lot of great shit to talk about today. Whit, why don't we start off with what are the 3 ways people can turn to one another inside of a relationship? It's not right. Sorry, guys.
Okay, well, my first question to you was going to be, can you turn left, Coach Kevin? So this has been something like Kevin said that we have really turned toward. We're turning toward each other this week. I think we know this and then we forget it and we don't really pay attention to it. So we have literally leaned into this week, and I've seen the improvements inside of our marriage. But there's a way to turn toward our person, there's a way to turn away from our person, and then there's a way to turn against them. So there's 3 ways to turn. I wish it was easy as just the left, right, back and forth, but those are the things: toward, against, and away.
Yeah, and when you look at this, I don't want you guys to think this is original. Whit'll drop in a minute where we got this. We've been reading a book. I think this is the Gottman Institute. I could be wrong about that. Whit'll clarify. But it's really fascinating. Like, they watched all these couples. They put them basically in an apartment with cameras and just counted the number of times when a partner made a bid for attention. In other words, one partner tried to get the other person's attention for any reason. The 3 basic outcomes are either, hey, that partner turned towards the partner, that partner turned away, which is like ignored and connect, or that partner turned against the partner, in other words, attacked them for turning towards them. These 3 turns, just understanding what they are, like in any given moment when your spouse approaches you about anything, right? Like, hey, you squeeze the toothpaste tube funny. Like, if you know Coach Whit and I, we have 2 separate tubes of toothpaste in our bathroom because I can't stand a toothpaste that's all smashed, and Whitney can't stand one that looks nice and is right. So
wait. I think that actually is me bidding for my connection with you, is knowing that if I squeeze that tube of toothpaste right in the middle, that it's going to get some attention, right?
Immediately. I don't know why that bothered. There's very few things, maybe like loud chewing and then squishy.
Okay, so if I eat chips and squeeze the toothpaste.
If you were eating chips in my ear and squeezing 2 toothpaste.
Got it. Stick with me for more tips on how to keep your marriage fresh.
That might be the end of I would just know it's time to go. So I want to know that, I want you to understand that first, just seeing those delineations of turn toward, turn away, which is also includes ignore. And let's be real, right? Like these things right here. We're testing an app on Android, so both these things right here are the ultimate way that we turn away, because this, if you're trying to talk to me, is not turn toward, right? If you try to talk to me and all you see is this and then this, I'm turning away from you, right? That counts as turn away. And our phones, I think, have introduced a far greater percentage of turn away. And then turn against is like, hey, shut the fuck up, I'm busy, actually attacking the person. Seeing those and thinking about the last 5-6 interactions you've had as a couple is absolutely important. Definitely this morning, Whitney and I had a whole lot of turn against and turn toward, not much turn away.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing with this is understanding, like, what does this even mean, turn toward? So I want to connect with Kevin. And so Kevin gave a really good example with the cell phones. Like, sometimes we are in the middle of doing something, and I mean, we work together, we work out of our home, and I'm in the middle of actually doing something that needs my attention, and he comes down and he starts a conversation with me. I want to turn toward him and acknowledge him, right? So, and then sometimes I can just say, hey, give me 5 seconds so that I can finish this, and then you have my complete attention. I've been acknowledged, and I wish, like, this was something we've created. It's not. It's John and Julie Gottman. They are amazing. Look into their work, but it's so important, like, for me to realize, like, how many times I've done this, when Kevin has approached me that I'm either in my phone and I'm like, I just ignore him, which is a turn away, or I get frustrated with him, which is the against, because so many times, like, I feel like he's interrupted me. I can sometimes see this. We see this maybe in our younger children, the against, where we finally get to the point of blowing up.
Well, and I think kids are super sensitive to this. I've seen this with Liam. Like, he'll aggravate someone to the point of they explode, right? So they go from turn away, which is just ignoring, and then he just keeps poke, because he has my DNA in him, so he's really good at that. And then someone will explode. So now it goes from turn away to turn against, and man, his feelings get hurt. And then the next time he walks in the room with that person, you can see him kind of like edging around the edges and trying not to make eye contact. I'm like, Liam, what's wrong? I don't want her to be angry with me again. So now he's avoiding contact because he doesn't want that turn away response, right? So another thing to understand about this, I think is so important, is you are never always, like, all couples do all three. And if you're telling me you never turn against or never turn away, you're full of shit. Like, that's not true, right? Need I remind you? Like, need I remind you? It happens. So it's not about eliminating. The first thing is, let's never turn against. That's crazy, right? Like, that's just crazy. Like, then you're going to end up being a doormat, right? I mean, could you imagine a world where we never turn against one another?
No, not at all. I mean, and it happens. We have been very aware of this week because we've really, like, leaned into studying this for ourselves. And there has been so many moments where I'm like, I don't want to connect with you right now, and I'm going to turn away from this. So and not even being aware. I think sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing it. And that's when the other partner can step in gently and say, hey, I want to connect with you, and I'm trying to connect with you. And right now you have your cell phone out and we're eating dinner, and I have asked you a question, and one of our children have asked you a question, and you're not even paying attention to what's going on.
I'm a big believer that, like, cell phones are bad. Now, Whitney is not a believer of this, so we can have an interesting debate about this. You can leave it aside. Yeah.
I like my phone.
I am a big believer that this in the bed is a destructive device, because it turns everything to turn away or even turn against because you're really engrossed in something. A lot of times we're like watching a TV show, Whitney's on her phone playing something, and then I have my phone doing whatever the fuck. I don't know. Sometimes I grab my phone. I used to put it in the bathroom because I was making a point. Like, for over a year, I had it in the bathroom every night, just like, I know I'm going to put that away. But then Whit never really got rid of hers. So I was like, well, fuck that. Then I'm going to have mine too. It's the dumbest thing you've ever heard, right? Well, she's going to turn away. Well, I'm going to turn away. I don't even care what I'm doing. Like, often I'm not even sure what I'm looking at, except for I'm showing her, but I'm not really, because she's super happy to do that in the first place, right? But I really do believe that this in bed, a screen both of us looking at little screens while we watch a big screen is fucking weird. It's like that's not a connection tool in any way.
And you know, I think I've resisted this because there's like this, you know, I want some space. And I think if I would just verbalize this, and I have verbalized that, okay, like I want this time to be able to play my little nonsense games. Pokemon Go is my jam. Is if I say that out loud instead of just automatically picking up the phone where it's this interrupt, right? If I just say, hey, I'm gonna spend this much time so that there's an awareness. And even as little as last night, you saying like, hey, can you just put your phone down and pay attention to me? I immediately did it. I don't know, like I think there was probably a piece of me that like rolled my eyes. And I want to get better at it.
I can tell you what piece of you it was. It was the eyes piece.
All right. You know, I really like I know like I'm remembering back to last night, and it's like, okay, well, I'm in the middle of doing this and I'm being selfish right now because I've given, you know, 123% of myself all day long, that I don't want to do that exactly right now, but because I'm aware of it, I'm getting better. Like I got better at it last night. Instead of not doing it, I actually did it, maybe with an eye roll, except for probably not maybe.
Maybe.
I put the phone connected for a little while. That wasn't the device. So it was me turning toward you, and yet I guess maybe against you at the same time. I don't, you know.
Well, I think that's the thing is this isn't a perfect line. Like I don't think it's like your eyes were maybe turning against and but I think one thing you have done, and you've done a lot of this recently, and I've noticed it, and it's huge, is you'll get to bed and you'll be like, hey, I'm gonna put my phone down, and then we have, you know, some time, and then you're like, hey, I'm gonna pick my phone up for a minute. That means a huge step, because what you're doing there is you're turning toward me and saying, I'm gonna do something for me. And now when you pick up the phone, it's not turning away from me by default, because you just turned toward me and kind of made me a part of that. Of, hey, I really want to play this game, or I want to read this thing. It's not like having a book in bed or your phone in bed is always bad, but when it becomes a default turn away, a default turn against, right? I've noticed that turnaways tend to be turned against. Once one person really wants attention and just keeps pecking, then the ignore turns into shut the hell up, right? It's funny because I'm cursing a lot more than usual today, but that's because I'm really passionate about this. This is something that we're on fire with. And it's something we're sorting out. But I've noticed when you say, hey, I'm gonna put my phone down for a little while, and then you'll make a big deal of like, hey, I want to do this thing that is wasting time, but it's fun for me. I'm gonna do this now. It's cool because then it's not turning away, because you're turning toward me to say it. And I think there are times we can't give our spouse what we need, right? Like last night I had this burning, I was just insane about work. Like I was just on fire, and I come in and I'm like bubbling over with I need to share, and Whitney's like, I'll talk about anything, but I'm not talking about work. And I'm like in her mind, that was her turning towards and communicating. In my mind, that was her turning against. Like that's the only damn thing I need to talk about right now. It's 8:30 p.m. I just finished my last staff meeting. Can you please like just talk about work? It felt like, but the truth is, by stopping, pause the TV, turn off whatever, like literally facing your body, turn toward not only mentally but physically. It's so huge when you just actually, when someone says, hey babe, and you stop and give them full eye contact. That's a huge thing. It's a huge validation that I think is important in life, and it's something I want to give you more and more and more, instead of just like calling to each other from room to room, right? I mean, how many conversations have I had with you where you're not even in the damn room I thought you were in? You know, I can actually get mad that you didn't respond and I was talking to an empty room.
Well, and I think like something that you said, turning toward and actually giving eye contact. I think sometimes when we're angry, I know I struggle with, I don't want to look at you because I'm feeling very vulnerable right now. And that is a turning toward. And recently in a conflict that we were having, you asked me, like, can you just look at me? Because you wanted that connection. And I was like, I can't right now. I don't want to right now because I'm feeling very vulnerable. And I think it was a bid for me, like turning toward you to say, hey, like I know that this is important to you, and I can't right now because I'm feeling so vulnerable. And I think that literally instantly shifted my mindset in it. I think that then allowed me to look at you, was just for me to be able to say, hey, I don't want to, and I understand why.
Right. And I think that, again, it's about keeping that healthy balance. Have I turned towards more than I've turned away or more than I've turned against? Right. I mean, I don't even think that it's unhealthy to turn against from time to time. I just need to be told, shut the hell up and go away. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I will incessantly want Whitney's attention. I will incessantly pester her to talk about shit because I just love her and I haven't gotten enough of her somehow over 14 years. And it is what it is, right? But there are times I need to just leave her the hell alone. And it's okay for you, but it's when 80% of our conversation, if 80% of the time she's saying, is turned against, we got a problem. That relationship is not going to last. You're not going to be able to handle that. Now, turn toward most of the time. I've loved thinking about this. I've loved thinking about when we have something really good happen and when we have something negative happen. Okay, well, what happened there? Did we turn toward? Did we turn against? It's super useful. It's a super useful tool and concept and mechanism for us to lean into. You had some statistics I think you looked up.
I do, and I just wanted to say, with the turning toward creates all this positivity in our relationship that maybe in the little small mundane things that we're doing we don't notice in the actual moment, but they actually build up, they accumulate. So when something negative like us having the meltdown that we did last night, the positivity is outweighing the negativity. And I think before sometimes that wasn't happening. It's just we would get so wrapped up in the negative that, because we weren't turning toward. But as I looked into some of these statistics of the couples that turned toward each other and turned away from each other, they, in their book, in the Gottman's book, he said that 33% of the time that couples got divorced, that's how much they were turning toward each other, was 33% of the time. And the couples that stayed together and were having, the relationships that they wanted to stay together, were turning toward each other 86% of the time. That's a huge difference. And one of the things that I saw was that, sometimes relationships are not falling apart because of these big fundamental things that are happening in their relationships. It's all the little things. It's all the little times that we didn't make space for one another, that we didn't turn toward each other and give each other that attention that, maybe wasn't convenient in that particular time, but we realized that, hey, they need this, like Kevin's sitting on the side of me, and I can tell just by his body language that something's going on. The connection with us can be, hey, babe, something's not right with you. What's going on? But there's, I think, so many moments that we can miss those small moments together that accumulate over time because, I'd rather really be playing my game on my phone because I know if I ask, then there's going to be this like unleashing of I don't even know what, and I'm tired, and the list could go on of all the reasons why I wouldn't want to turn toward. And having truly leaned into this week of turning toward, seeing what this is doing inside of our relationship.
So I think one way that you're really good at this with, it actually catches me by surprise all the time. And it's crazy because you've done it for years. But when I will call you, not every time, but a lot of times, you answer with like full attention in this voice that almost sounds like you're going to get paid by the minute to keep my attention. That's how interested you are. Like, hello, like this loving, like, and it stops me in my tracks. I'm like, oh shit, like, did she know I was going to call? Why is she so happy I'm calling? Like, but it's cool because you really, with your voice, put all this love and emphasis, and it just like, sometimes I forget what I'm calling about. I'm just so happy of like, wow, I have her full damn attention. She still loves me and I can hear it. It's a cool thing. And I don't know how exactly to duplicate that, but it's really neat. Like One of my great friends, Larod Smalls, he talks about that. Like when he's talking to you on the phone, um, uh, man, he works hard to give this full attention. You can feel it. You can really feel that he's taking it in, and that's a way that you're really really good at turn toward. I don't ever feel like you have four other things going on and you're barely half-assed paying attention. And I mean, I guess from time to time that's just the truth, but generally that's something that you're really good at. I have a story to tell, guys, but I want you to see the power of turning toward. I mean, we started with Zoolander, who can't turn left. I feel like we should button up that whole thing and see how it actually turned out. So let's see the power of turning toward instead of turning away, which is where we mostly land. Okay, we mostly land in away, which is ignore it or hope it goes away, or not really turn around, or turning against. Like, here's the true power of it.
Die, you wage-taking scum!
One look! One look! I don't think so! There it is. Magnum! Holy moly. Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for! Dear God, it's beautiful.
So you may not have the makeup and accoutrement and modeling skills of Zoolander, but that turn toward can stop that moment. It can stop that deadly assassin moment, and even have the person who's trying to kill you be like, whoa. And that happens all the time with us on the telephone. I have a really personal experience I want to share from France. I was a missionary in France. We rode bikes everywhere, and I was a big dude, and I rode fast and hard and loved it. And we were bombing down a street one time, busy street, really steep downhill, bombing down the street where, it's kind of cutting the red light close, right? Like I thought I could make it. I couldn't make it. I jammed the brakes and my brake lines popped. So I went from full brake to no brakes, which shot me straight into traffic, which had already started to move, right? I tried to stop with my feet. That tumbled me all around. I ended up getting my legs caught on my bike. I flipped out into traffic as I watched this French car get closer and closer here, brakes screeching. I mean, this was a head on the pavement, oh my God moment, right? Now, the car actually never got within 2 feet of me, but from my angle, I was confident I was about to watch myself get run over. I think the car wasn't even moving 15, 20 miles an hour. But again, from my angle, it was uncomfortable. The guy in the car was in full turn away because he almost ran someone over. He comes out of his car, right? I remember the horn, and when your head's on the ground, the horn is really loud. He's, brake screeching, horn. He comes out of the car to kill me. He didn't actually kill me with his car, but he's yelling and screaming, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And I remember this moment, like he's turning against me. And my instinct in that moment is to turn against, right? It's also to fight back, like, hey, man, it's not my fault. But I remember deciding to turn toward him, looking up. I put my hands together. My feet were all tangled and bloody. And I said, "Thank you for not running me over. Like, thank you. My brakes popped, and thank you." And I remember him crying, and he helped me, got me to the curb. He pulled us. He stopped all, like, the whole world became about me. We hugged. Like, it was this cool moment, right? All of that brought about by not engaging in the turn against and just turning towards, right? Very simple, like, powerful moment in my life. Like, he completely flipped as soon as I owned it. Hey, that was my fault. I shouldn't have been in the road. I just turned toward him. I got really vulnerable, and he saw the reality of, like, wow, this was dangerous, and it's good now. I think the same thing can happen in our relationships. I think the same thing does happen in our relationships, and we just want to make it happen more and more and more.
I think it's so important for us to realize that just because your partner's turning away from you or against you is not don't give yourself the permission to do the same thing. Turn toward your partner and know that it starts with you. It starts with the example that you're leading inside of your relationship. Because turning toward your partner is the maintenance in your relationship, just like you would maintain your car, your house, or anything else. Like, our relationships need the maintenance, and the maintenance is turning toward and forgiving yourself and not going down the guilt and shame spiral of, I messed this up last time, so I'm just going to keep doing it the same way. Try it on, try something on differently, and don't expect for your partner to do the same. It starts with you.
If I could leave you with one thing, it's this. It is turn toward, turn away, turn against. And which of those do you really want to be connected to the rest of your life? Obviously, turn away. That doesn't mean there's not a time to turn away. That doesn't mean there's not a time to turn against. But if you focus on making the vast majority of your interactions turn toward, you have a chance of having a powerfully imperfect marriage, which is the kind that we have. And I got to say, it's the best there is.